Hello to all my DIY mechanics. In this video I'll show you how to remove the steering wheel including the airbag on a Saab 9.5 Dame Edna model, meaning from 2006 onwards. This might be necessary if you want to replace the steering wheel or airbag, or if you need to access the components underneath like the clock spring or the turn signal and wiper stalks. My car has had an issue for a while. The airbag warning light is on, the horn doesn't work and the volume buttons are either malfunctioning or the functions are swapped. All of these symptoms suggest that the clock spring has a broken wire, and since I found a cheap one used online, I'll simply replace it. In theory, you could also test the part with a multimeter. Before we start the video, just a quick disclaimer: this video is meant for informational purposes only and is not an official guide. I am not responsible for any damage to your vehicle or any injuries. Also, airbag related work should only be done by trained professionals, as airbags can be dangerous. First, I removed this plastic cover. There are 3 torque screws, one at the bottom and one on each side. You'll need to turn the steering wheel a bit to access them. The upper half can then simply be lifted off. The lower half is hooked onto the steering column. You need to slide it forward slightly to release it. Then lower the steering adjuster lever so that the lower half can be easily removed. Now onto the airbag. Disconnect the battery first. This is crucial to prevent accidental deployment. Also, wait at least 30 minutes to ensure that any capacitors are fully discharged. I had already removed my battery, so I didn't have to worry about this step. Unlike the previous model, the airbag is not screwed in but held in place by a spring mechanism. You need to push the spring aside with a screwdriver, moving it inward while pulling on the airbag at the same time. Once both sides released, the airbag will come loose. Here's a close-up of the spring mechanism so you can see how it works. You can't see inside while working, so watching a video beforehand can be helpful. Now the airbag is loose, but be careful, they're still connected by cables, so don't pull too hard. You can disconnect the cables by pressing up the small locking clip with a screwdriver. But be careful not to lose it, as you will need it when reconnecting the airbag. Now the airbag is free and can be removed. If this video has been helpful so far, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, a comment and a free subscription to my channel. Now you'll see the large center bolt. It's a 22mm bolt. To loosen it, you'll need to hold the steering wheel firmly, or you just will turn the wheel and not loosen the bolt. Using a ratchet didn't work for me, so I used my impact wrench. Alternatively, you can have a second person help hold the wheel. Important, do not remove the center bolt completely yet. If you do so, the wires could get stretched when you pull off the steering wheel. You'll see why in a moment. Now release the steering wheel adjustment lever so you can pull the wheel towards you. Next, take a ratchet extension or something similar and tap the center of the steering wheel while pulling on it. This should loosen it. Once it's loose, you can remove the center bolt completely. Then carefully pull the steering wheel off further, but keep in mind that there are wires still connected to the clock spring. You will need to disconnect this connection before removing the wheel entirely. Now you can unscrew the clock spring using the 2 torque screws. It's connected with 2 plugs. And that's it. That's how easy it is to replace the clock spring. When installing the new one, make sure it's in the correct position. It should be able to rotate 2 full turns in each direction without resistance, so it doesn't get over-tightened when you turn the steering wheel. Once it's back in neutral position, you can reconnect the plugs and reinstall the steering wheel. Make sure the connector for the steering wheel buttons is correctly seated. In my case it had slipped off, but I only noticed after reassembling it all, and so I had to remove the airbag again. Now reinstall the center bolt, reconnect the airbag and simply press it into place until the springs lock it in. Reconnect the battery and check if everything is working. Finally, reinstall the plastic cover and that's it. Pretty simple, right? If this video was helpful, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up and a comment, and if you subscribe to my channel, that would be awesome. It helps the algorithm recognize that I make useful videos and recommend me to other DIY mechanics. Thanks in advance and good luck with your repairs.